Yo, what's up guys? It's your boy Rich, aka Major Monkey, and we're back with another review video. Hope you guys are doing good. Hope you've been having a fantastic week. Not another mouse review video, but a mouse pad review video. And not just one mouse pad, but 4 mouse pads we're going to be talking about today. And it's all thanks to Lethal Gaming Gear. Big shout out to them. They allowed me and blessed me with the opportunity to review these 4 pads for you guys. And it is the Pro lineup of their own pads. And so today we're going to be talking about the Jupiter Pro, the Saturn Pro, the Hyperion, which is a collab that they did with Pulsar, and then Neptune Pro. So we got 4 pads to talk to you guys about. And yeah, if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Typically with a mousepad review video, we'll do the first part, just a quick overview of the specs, color options, size options, the type of firmness that you can get, whether it's firm, soft, X-soft, etc., and then the price of the pads. And then the second part, typically when it's just one mousepad that we're talking about, is I'll review it to other mousepads that I have and kind of give you a reference point of what it feels like compared to the competition. But with this being the fact that we're reviewing 4 mousepads, I thought instead of doing that and then the third part being a whole separate part of my personal experience with the mousepads, what did I like, what did not like, stuff like that, I thought for this we would actually just combine part 2 and part 3 kind of together and just focus on the 4 mouse pads. And so instead of comparing this to outside mouse pads, we're just going to be comparing them to each other, so that maybe if you are somebody that has never purchased a mouse pad from Lethal Gaming Gear before, this will kind of help you, kind of guide you on where you want to end up with either the Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and then the Pulsar collab, the Hyperion. But yeah, massive shout out to Lethal Gaming Gear. Absolutely love them. They have the, in my opinion, the best customer service that I've ever experienced in the peripheral scene. And so yeah, just huge shout out to them. Huge shout out to Dylan. Thank you, man, so much. I mean, it's just super kind, and I'm honored to do this review for you guys. So thank you so much. Let's get straight into the video. Alrighty guys, so for these 4 mouse pads, when it comes to price, 3 of the 4 are actually identical. You have the Jupiter Pro, the Saturn Pro, and the Hyperion that all come out at $50. Then the Neptune Pro is actually $55, but currently right now at the time of this recording, it's on sale for $45, making it the cheapest at the moment of the 4. And so in terms of sizings, they all come in the same sizes. You have the typical 490 by 420, you have the perfect square option of a 500 by 500, and then lastly you get a 1000 by 500 version. So just imagine 2 500s right next to each other, and that'll make the 1000 by 500. Super nice desk sized mouse pad. So if you're maybe someone that you don't see yourself swapping pads in and out here and there, like every month or so or every couple months or whatever, a nice desk sized mouse pad would be awesome. And so they offer that for all 4 options, which is super neat. When it comes to the firmness of all the pads, they offer firm, soft, and X-soft. And then for the color options, the Jupiter Pro comes in this, not exactly like a pure black, but it's kind of like a dark charcoal, kind of dark gray colorway. Then the Saturn Pro comes in a pure black, a red, and also this more newer version, which is a blue version. It's like a nice dark blue kind of colorway, and I love this. This is easily my favorite one of the 3. And so yeah, super nice with the Saturn Pro. Comes in 3 color options. The Pulsar collab Hyperion comes in this very nice kind of bluish tone and a pure black version. And then the Neptune Pro is very similar to the Jupiter, where it just comes in this not pure black, but a kind of a dark gray, kind of dark charcoal colorway. And that'll wrap up the specs part of the video. And now let's get into the second / final part of the video, which is just the kind of comparison of the 4 mouse pads together, and also my experience using all 4 of the pads. Alright guys, so for the portion of this video, I'm going to include a photo real quick in the corner. This is what Lethal Gaming Gear advertises as their slowest to fastest options, and we're going to kind of go down that order. And so starting off will be the Jupiter Pro. This is their flagship kind of control mud pad feel. And when it comes to this kind of mouse pad, if you're not familiar with the names of control, balance, and speed, it's kind of in the name itself. With control, you really are feeling the most kind of resistance in a sense of when gaming. Like when you're kind of moving your mouse around, it doesn't feel super free, if that makes sense. And so like just if I'm kind of pushing the mouse here a little bit. Not much force at all. You see it's not going all over the place. It really just kind of moves forward a little bit. And as you'll see in these upcoming pads, that'll continue to grow and grow further, where with the speed pad, it's going to glide a lot farther. And so with the control pad, you have definitely the most kind of resistance when gliding. Now, playing a control pad, you're not feeling like it's an arm workout, right? Like the mouse pad isn't stopping you from playing a game or anything like that. It's not to that kind of severity, but you definitely feel that slowness to it and a lot more control, hence the name. And it offering just fantastic stopping power. So like if you're in a game and you do a quick flick to like do a 180 with a control pad, the main goal to achieve with that is you're stopping exactly where you want to. With a control pad, you're going to have those best chances because of that kind of resistance, because of that really well done stopping power that control pads offer. And the Jupiter Pro is no different. So with all these pads, I've used them for about a week and a half to 2 weeks each, just to really give them their own kind of time and space to breathe while within real gaming use. And so I didn't want to just use them for a couple days, go to the next pad, a couple days, go to the next pad. And so I really played with all of them pretty thoroughly. And I played different types of titles. It wasn't just one type of genre. They're all competitive shooter games, but what I mean by that is, I played some CSGO, some Valorant, like that more slower paced tac shooters. And then I also did play more kind of faster dynamic games like Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, The Finals, something that's a lot more quicker and more dynamic in where you're moving your camera in the game. And so when it comes to a Jupiter Pro, it's very clearly leaning more towards something like a tac shooter. Now, if the question is, can you play more kind of faster dynamic games on a cloth pad like the Jupiter Pro? Yeah, absolutely. You'll have no problem playing on a pad like this. But that kind of resistance and really good stopping power is fantastic for something like a tac shooter, and really supports those kind of games where you have those micro adjustments when playing and stuff like that. And so, can you play on both type of games? Absolutely. Does this pad definitely favor a type of shooter more than the other? Yeah, for sure, 100%. Both type of games, I had a fantastic experience. The surface of the pad is super like soft and smooth. There's not much texture to it. It's just very just soft. If you think of a pad like the Artisan Hien, to me that has a very kind of rough texture to it, and this would be like the complete opposite, just very silky smooth. That's like the best way I could explain the surface. Easily my favorite surface of these 4 pads that I'll be talking to you guys about. I'm a control pad shill, and so I'd be lying if I said the Jupiter Pro wasn't definitely one of my favorites. But yeah, fantastic control pad. It does exactly what you would want it to do, and I think it excels in both games, but definitely favors more towards that kind of tac side of things. Yeah, let's get into the next pad now, the Saturn Pro. Alrighty guys, with the Saturn Pro, this is one of their 2 balanced options, and with this balance pad, they rate this actually, as you saw in the original image I showed at the start of this part of the video, it's actually the slower of the 2 options, or at least that's what they advertise it as. And in actual use, a balance pad is not going to offer you the fastest of speed or the, stopping power of a control pad, but it tries to meet, in the middle, a balance of the 2. And so with the Saturn Pro, you do still get that stopping power like in the Jupiter Pro, not to the severity of it, but you definitely can still feel that part of the control pad, those attributes of a control pad. But you also kind of feel a little bit more of a quickness in the glide of more something faster than like a speed pad. And I think with the Saturn Pro, it achieves that perfectly. You get a nice balance when playing something like Valorant or CSGO or something like Marvel Rivals, Overwatch, or the Finals. It does a great job for both games, easily can rock it both. And that's kind of the goal, right? With something like a balance pad, it wants to achieve the possibility in like the flexibility in both games. And so you have that quickness for those more dynamic games, but you still have that kind of control and stopping power for those more kind of slower paced tac shooters. In terms of the surface feel, it definitely has a little bit more of a texture than the Jupiter Pro. Not uncomfortable whatsoever. I mean, as someone that doesn't use an arm sleeve at all, I've never had issues with the surface feeling uncomfortable or kind of picking at my arm at all. Very nice surface. Not as smooth as, or not as soft, I should say. Not as soft as the Jupiter Pro, but it still has a very smooth glide like the Jupiter Pro. All four of them have a very nice kind of uniform smooth glide. I think the softness changes with these pads in terms of its texture. And the Saturn Pro definitely feels a little bit rougher, not as soft as the Jupiter, but not in any sort of uncomfortable way. Like I said, I don't rock an arm sleeve, and I've never once had an issue rocking the Saturn Pro. And with the Saturn Pro, actually, that was my first ever kind of pro, more premium mouse that I ever purchased when starting to get serious with, PC gaming and peripherals and all that. I bought this is my original Saturn Pro here on my left side of my desk. I bought this like years ago when the Saturn Pros first came out. And so I love the Saturn Pro, rocking it with this new nice blue color. It's a phenomenal feeling pad. It was perfect at the time for me because I didn't know whether I liked control or speed. I didn't know where I leaned more towards. And so for me at the time, Saturn Pro was a beautiful option. It was balanced and it was perfect. It allowed me to play multiple titles and not feel like it was hindering either, experience whatsoever. And so yeah, love the Saturn Pro. I think it's a great balanced option. And now let's get into the next pad, which is the Hyperion Pulsar collab. Alrighty, guys. So with the Pulsar collab Hyperion, like I mentioned, I just want to mention this right away. In the first part of the video where I mentioned the colorway options of the Hyperion, it comes in an all black version and this kind of blue option. I specifically chose this blue option because when I was going through their page, I noticed that they had mentioned for the blue option that it stains a lot easier than something like the black version. And as someone who has hyperhidrosis and kind of lives in a lot warmer of an area at the moment, especially with it being summer still, I wanted to just test it out and see how kind of dirty it got and how fast it would get dirty. And so this is the Hyperion, and I don't know if you can tell from the video, but there's definitely spots on the pad right now that you can see, and it kind of looks like there's like a shadow being casted on the mouse pad. And it's not a shadow, it's actually just like sweat stains, I think. I'm pretty sure. Again, I played with this pad for about a week and a half. Now, right now, currently with the temperature, it is very hot. And so that mixed with my hyperhidrosis is not the best combo. And so it definitely did stain the pad quite a bit. I think at one point I had a little bit of water spill in the pad. And so that kind of stained it here in the corner as well. So I do really appreciate their transparency and honesty with referencing that the fact that this does stain a lot easier. In my experience of all the four pads, this one definitely stained the easiest, where the other pads, I don't really have any stains on them whatsoever. So if you're someone that really cares about that, or maybe someone that sweats like me that has like hyperhidrosis, or maybe has water or typically kind of drinks on your desk, I would maybe lean towards the black version compared to the blue option. But if you're someone that doesn't really have those issues or have those kind of moments with like drinks and stuff, the blue is a beautiful color. And even with that being said, with the stains and stuff, when playing, like the stains don't cause it to feel different at all. The Hyperion is the faster of the two balanced options. And I definitely can't agree with that. Now, I don't think they're drastically different from one another with the Saturn Pro and the Hyperion. I think the Hyperion has a little bit faster of a glide, and the kind of trade-off with that is the stopping power isn't as heavy. But it's like, I'm talking like if let's say the Saturn Pro had a 85% stopping power kind of feel, the Hyperion has like a 70%, 75% stopping power feel. Like they're very, very close. And then the same with the speed. If the Saturn Pro had like a 75% kind of feel of its quickness, then the Hyperion's like at 85%. Nothing drastic, but just enough to where, at least for me personally, in that time using it of that week and a half, 2 weeks, you can notice it. And in terms of the surface feel, and in terms specifically of like the softness of it, I would actually rate this the second softest of the four pads that we're going to be talking about today. This doesn't have as much of a rough texture compared to the Saturn Pro. Again, the Saturn Pro doesn't have a rough, like a really rough texture to it. Just compared to all the other pads, it feels the roughest, if that's how I could describe it. But the Hyperion feels very soft. Again, in-game use, this pad excelled with those slower tack shooters. It leaned, just like how the Saturn Pro maybe leans a little more towards the tack shooters with that stopping power, this might lean a little more towards those more dynamic kind of games, but I never had an issue playing either of them. I was able to do super well in both type of games with this pad. Long story short, with these four pads, you can do really well in all these games with all these 4 pads. You can't go wrong. But hopefully by the end of this video, you'll see that there are definitely certain pads that support a type of game more than the other. And with these 2 balance options, the Hyperion definitely supports more of that dynamic kind of gameplay, just a little more, but you can easily play attack shooter with this. I had no problems playing Valorant or CSGO with this mouse pad. And yeah, okay, Dylan, if you're watching this, bro, don't hate me, man, but I really enjoyed the Hyperion. And even though I'm more of a control pad user, I think I preferred this over the Saturn Pro. And the only reason is because of the surface. Again, the Saturn Pro is not a rough surface whatsoever. It's just the texture feels the roughest out of the 4, if that makes sense. Again, they're all very soft feeling pads, except for the Neptune, which we'll get into. That's more of like a hard feeling pad. But the Saturn Pro is the roughest. But just like in terms of roughness for the Saturn Pro, it's maybe like 10%. You know what I mean? Like it's not a rough pad whatsoever. We're just comparing it to extremely soft pads. And so yeah, the Hyperion would be my second in terms of the softness of the surface. And I think that's why I would pick it over the Saturn Pro. But like I said, if you're someone that caters more towards those TAC FPSs, but you're looking for a balanced option, I think the Saturn Pro is definitely your pick. Whereas if you're playing something more dynamically more often, maybe this would be the option. Overall, between the 2, I'd pick the Hyperion, but you can't go wrong with either. I absolutely love both of the pads. Wanted to mention that stain stuff first, just to kind of get that out of the way. Again, huge shout out to Lethal Gaming Gear for being just transparent and honest with that. If I was to pick up this pad again, which I really love the Hyperion, so I actually kind of want to pick up this pad again, I would pick it up in the black option just for me personally because of, me dealing with the hyperhidrosis, it being a lot warmer where I live, stuff like that. Beautiful colorway. The stains do not affect the pad. Very nice balance pad with a little more smidge on the speed side. But yeah, let's go to the final one now, the Neptune Pro. Alrighty guys, rounding out the whole video, we got the Neptune Pro, their speed pad. And now this pad compared to something like the Jupiter Pro, you will absolutely feel the difference. And just me talking in this video, I've already used these pads for about 2 weeks each, and so I've kind of gotten a really good idea of how these pads feel in play. But just right now in reviewing and swapping these pads in and out and talking about it, man, it is a night and day difference with something like the Neptune Pro and the Jupiter. Obviously that makes sense because these are both different sides of the extremes, right? You have the mud pad and then you have the speed pad over here with the Neptune Pro. Now, kind of a background for me, a little Major Monkey lore of mouse pads. Before I purchased this Saturn Pro, I actually did pick up one gaming mouse pad before this. And random shout out to Glorious. Shout out to Glorious. What the heck happened to them? But they actually had like these elemental pads, and I got their ice one, which was like this weird cloth glass infused mouse pad. It was crazy. It was disgusting. I hated that pad. I did not like it whatsoever. I did not game on it well at all. Now, to be fair, I was still new to PC gaming, so I was not good at PC gaming in general, but that thing made it infinitely worse. Like I was so bad with that pad. That really put such a terrible taste of speed pads in my mouth that I just never bothered touching speed pads again up until this pad and another speed pad that I'm really excited to be talking to you guys about hopefully soon. Yeah, it's been quite a long time since I touched a speed pad because of that experience. I'm just gonna say right now, the Neptune Pro is the sleeper pad of the 4. This pad kind of blew me away. Like, this pad is sick, guys. I love this pad so much. And it is, again, this pad and the other speed pad I'll be talking about later on, they absolutely changed my perspective of speed pads. The surface is very smooth. It's not as soft as the other pads, like the Hyperion and the Jupiter, but it makes sense though because it is a speed pad. So the surface feels a lot more, not drastically harder, but it feels a little bit more harder of a surface than something like the Jupiter where it feels very soft. But yeah, you definitely get the glide. I mean, like, remember I was showing you about the Jupiter Pro, and I showed you that to see, like, what does the slowest pad look like? I'm offering the same amount of push compared to that one, and this one's going just so much farther. And it really has, it's a speed pad, so it offers you the most just kind of freedom in its glide and movement. Where it then starts to lack is that stopping power. But what I was surprised with the Neptune Pro is the fact that it still does have a very decent, very nice stopping power feel. And again, as someone who is a big control pad user, that is like something that I adore, is that stopping power. And this actually offers it enough to where I loved gaming with this pad, whether it was tack shooters or those more dynamic, faster paced ones. I really enjoyed the Neptune Pro, and it's easily the standout pad of the four in terms of like what surprised me the most. You know, it's not my favorite pad of the four, but that's just my personal, you know, preferences. But in terms of just surprising me, is easily the Neptune. I loved this pad, just like the Jupiter Pro, where I can easily play the Jupiter Pro for both types of games. The Jupiter Pro absolutely tailors itself more towards something like a tack shooter, and this is the same, but vice versa. This I can definitely play Valorant on, or something like CSGO, but it 100% tailors itself more towards those dynamic games, offering you that freedom and like quickness in the mouse pad. But again, I can play both perfectly fine, but this definitely leans more towards that end of gaming. And so really, really love the Neptune Pro. Absolutely just kind of surprised me. And I think it's the sleeper of the four. Truly. I don't see enough people talking about the Neptune Pro. And so, yo, you guys got to start giving some love to this pad, because this pad is sick. And again, price-wise, they all are very, very, I think, just pretty solid. None of them are very expensive whatsoever. You can get this right now for $10 off. And if I had to rank them, it's no surprise that the Jupiter Pro would be my favorite of the four, me being just a control pad shill, you know what I mean? So I would put the Jupiter Pro first, but I would then go the Hyperion, then the Neptune Pro, and then the Saturn Pro. Only reason the Saturn Pro is last is because the Saturn Pro and the Hyperion are so similar that it feels weird kind of just stacking them right next to each other. The Saturn Pro is like, I don't know, it's hard to rank those two in my opinion. I just prefer the Hyperion slightly more. And then the Neptune Pro is just such a standout to me that I wanted to place it above the Saturn Pro. The Saturn Pro, the best way I can explain it for you guys, I would say that is the best option. If you are someone that hasn't really gamed on a PC that much and want to get into a more kind of niche premium quality mouse pad, I can't recommend the Saturn Pro enough. I think it's a great kind of starter mouse pad to get. But then if you want to tailor off into something a little more niche, I think the Jupiter Pro is fantastic. The Neptune Pro is fantastic for, you know, both sides of that spectrum. And then I think if you feel a little bit of speed lacking in the Saturn Pro, the Hyperion is a fantastic option and my preference over the two. Again, Dylan, don't hate me, bro. I love the Saturn Pro, please. But the Hyperion is just really nice. I really, really enjoyed that one a lot. And all four pads, as you can tell, I've really enjoyed. Even the speed pad. I was, again, guys, I can't explain to you how much I was just shocked by the Neptune Pro. So all pads, I highly recommend. I think they did a great job with all these Pro lineup pads. And just massive shout out again to Lethal Gaming Gear for sending these out, allowing me to review, and also allowing me the time to spend time with each pad. You know, I got these pads about maybe 2 months ago, and so the fact that I was allowed to have about a week and a half to 2 weeks with each pad, use it, play it, you know, not the typical like play a couple days with it, make a review. You know, I hate doing that kind of thing, and I refuse to do that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, super stoked that I had the time to, you know, play with all of them, really get a feel for all four pads, and hopefully that this video helped you in some sort of way kind of get an idea of, if you were to pick one of these four pads, you know, which one would you lean towards more. And so thank you guys so much for watching the video. Again, massive shout out to Lethal Gaming Gear, and I'll check you guys for the next video. See ya.